Elizabeth Stephenson with New Direction Family Law, where we help clients make powerful changes in their lives. And I'm here today with Lesli Doares, who is a marriage counselor, therapist, all-around guru, helping folks work on their relationships. And Leslie's part of our For a Better Life workshop series. That's the first Saturday of every month. And you're going to be with us in May, on May 6th.
Yep.
And Lesli helps folks on their relationships. If you're having problems or you're thinking about separating, you really can help them either figure out if they want to work together or how to do things differently or separate, right?
Absolutely. The whole thing about what I do, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a coach. I do a lot of education because people think if things aren't going well, we only have two options: stay or go.
Right.
And and there's a third option, and it's a little bit of a more challenging option. But let's see what can happen. Let's dig into the problems. I kind of talk about myself kind of like being the doctor of relationships, where everything's not terminal.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. I like that.
But again, the sooner you identify that you've got a challenge and the sooner you take care of it, the faster you heal, the faster you can do better.
Right.
And if you wait really long, then it's going to be a much longer process.
Right. And we have a lot of folks who may come in for an initial consultation who are they're sort of information gathering, and they don't know whether they want to separate or not. So you're a fabulous resource for us to help them sort of figure out where they are in that process.
Well, and to help them work through what each means, because really what people want is they want the pain to stop.
Right.
And and there are multiple ways to get the pain to stop. Ending the relationship is one of them, but seeing if it can be repaired and made stronger. It's kind of like your bone's broken and it grows back stronger, because that's really what I try to help people do is get clear about because in the immediacy I want the pain to stop, but there's long-term consequences to any decision.
Right. And just because you separate doesn't necessarily mean the pain is going to stop if you haven't dealt with the issues around the separation sometimes.
Well, exactly. All of those issues still stay,
right.
And especially if there are children. Now, if you don't have kids and you can walk away from each other and I never have to see you, deal with you, whatever, you're still going to take the baggage with you, but at least you're not being reminded of it every day. But if you have children, then you are still going to have to deal with your partner, and all of the difficult ways you have right now will still be there, and then you'll just have some additional ones to work on. Yeah.
And it may get exacerbated at that point too. So if you can work on those issues early or before if you do separate, that can help make the process easier.
Absolutely. Because one way or the other, you're going to have to find a way to work with each other. Right. I mean, that's one of, I think, the ideas that, if we're divorced, then I don't have to deal with this person. Well, not in the same way, but then you also lose some of the leverage that you might have, because once they have their own life and doing whatever, you lose any kind of say in it.
Right. So if a couple, you work with individuals or just couples?
I do both.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, this is one of the things that people don't understand, is that one person doing something different can dramatically change the relationship.
Really?
Because couples develop a pattern over the years. So if I change my part in the pattern, you can't keep doing yours.
Well, no, that's eye-opening.
Yeah. So a lot of people think, well, I have to have my partner come with me.
Right.
Now, in some cases it's better, because then, one, I get to actually see the dynamics, and two, I get both sides of the story, because your experience is going to be different from your partner's experience. Right. But one person, and the other reason I like to see both people is because it doesn't put all of the responsibility onto one person. But one person actually can, by doing something different, completely change the relationship.
Well, I think that's pretty eye-opening and probably hopeful for a lot of folks in that respect. So I've really never heard it put that way.
Yeah. I have a friend who calls it takes one to tango.
I'll have to remember that. So what's the process? If a couple comes and says, Leslie, we want you to help us, is there a certain sort of step-by-step they go through, or is it individually based on where they come and where they're at?
Both. It's actually, I kind of have a global plan,
Okay.
and then individually tailored to whatever the specific issues
Issue is.
are, and what the particular pattern is, because just every relationship is different,
Right.
because the two people in it are different.
Right.
But I generally start out with trying to figure out, okay, where are you right now? What are the challenges? And then I kind of do a triage, which one needs to be tackled first, so that we can do the rest of them. And then I kind of take them to that blueprint.
Okay.
And I do a lot of education, because people think that relationships are natural, and up to a point they are.
Relationships are hard work. I think we can all agree with that.
And people don't understand that when we fall in love, that's the easy part.
Right.
Because when we're in love, it's like, oh my gosh, we're on the same wavelength,
Right.
and you get me, and and then like 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road, it's like, well, wait a minute, why,
where'd you go?
And they don't understand that that's actually a physiological process, that our hormones change and our biochemistry changes, and now we actually have to deal with a person who really can't read our mind, who really does have differences of opinions in different ways and different past experiences, which I've just learned, which to me was like, well, of course we all see the world differently, but as I learned through a very close friend of mine not very long ago, that not everybody gets that. I mean, when you say it, it makes sense, but it's like, well, why don't you see things the way I do?
Right.
Or why don't you do things the way I do?
Right.
Because I'm a different person. And it's working through that and helping couples see that every difference doesn't have to be resolved. In fact, one of the big gurus in my field says 67% of disagreements never get resolved. It's just figuring out which are the important 33% to resolve and which aren't.
Right.
But we get into this process where we don't know how to resolve these differences, and then we start questioning. I married the wrong person. This person loves me. Why does this person not listen to me? Why can't I be hurt? All this stuff.
Right.
And they don't have necessarily a good way to resolve it, and so they think that getting out is the only way.
You find that communication is a big problem in the way people communicate with each other, where they're not being heard or getting their opinions expressed.
Right. There are two things that people really come to me about.
Okay.
The first is poor communication, and the second is we've grown apart.
Right.
Now, the second is part of the first, but good communication is not enough. But if you don't have good communication skills, it's impossible to resolve any kind of issue.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
So it's kind of like, okay, you don't want to build a house without the foundation.
Right.
So good communication is the foundation, and we're not always aware of how we're communicating. Right. And there's so much to communication. Again, you think it's natural because when we're babies we start talking.
Right.
But it's much more, and the more personal the topic, the harder it is. And when we're talking about being in a marriage, there's the emotional thing of, well, what happens if I say something my partner doesn't like, or dealing with disappointment, or just being able to ask for what matters to us, and being able to have that conversation. And we learn throughout our lives what's okay, what's not okay, and we also make assumptions about, well, if my partner said this to me, this is how I would react. So if I say it to my partner, that's how my partner's going to react.
Right.
Well, not just how they should, but how they will, and we never bother to check. And so, but then we start down this spiral, and then we don't know how to get out, and then that's where I get in.
Okay. And then also, teaching those skills can help the whole family and parenting and all that sort of stuff. So it really does have a sort of a rebound effect to everybody if the parents can learn to communicate better.
Well, exactly, and I talk about marriage as being, and I say this all the time, you're never supposed to modify the word unique. But it is a truly unique relationship because it's a combination of every other kind of relationship you're in. So if you can make it, so anything that you learn relationship skills in a marriage will translate to business, to your parenting, to your family, to your,
just all parts of your life.
All across the board. But we don't have to go to school.
Right.
To be married.
Right.
I think we should.
I do too. Have a little training and do that.
A little training, But but because it's natural.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, up to a point.
But so what do you say to people if you just don't think that they're going to work it out? That's not. I don't know if that's your role, or you help them work through that and see that, or you just leave it to the couple to make that.
I tell people that I'm psychotically optimistic.
That's good.
But I will be their biggest cheerleader. The problem is I can't do the work. I can provide the framework. I can provide information, but I never tell anybody. With one exception. There is one exception where I will advise somebody, and that is if there's any kind of abuse involved.
I was going to ask you about that.
Because really, people talk about what is incompatible with marriage or what will end marriage, and abuse really is the one thing. Mm-hmm. Now, I throw addiction and any kind of serious illness in there too that's not being addressed.
Right.
Now, if somebody's working on it, that's a whole different thing.
Right.
But a lot of people think that infidelity is a deal breaker, and I'm going to tell you, no,
people
can't.
So.
Well, we don't hear about the people necessarily who survive infidelity.
Right.
Now,
right.
I don't recommend it as a way to go because it is very difficult, but that doesn't mean the end of the marriage. Right. The only time I will tell somebody is if they are in an abusive relationship, and then that's
what I was going to ask. Was I was thinking, what would you do if both people have to come? I mean, does sometimes one person come and they're ready work, and the other person's just coming along because they're sort of told to, or?
Well, and yes, and part of my job is to figure out, are they on the same page? Right. And one of the things that I offer is a brand new process called discernment counseling, where it's about, we're not working on the marriage or working on the relationship, we're just trying to get both people on the same page. Do you want to work on the marriage?
Right.
Because a lot of people want something, they just don't see the pathway to get there. And I said, that's my job to
show them that there is a way to do that.
Right. I'm the holder of hope. And so that's, but some people come in under duress, and that's not ideal.
Right.
And it is kind of a scary process because going to this stranger and talking about our private lives, but again, I kind of liken myself to, you go to the doctor and sometimes you have to talk about stuff that's a little personal.
That's right.
But, and pretty much I have seen and heard almost everything. I'm sure there are things, but what people don't understand is that the challenges are very, very common. And they feel like they're by themselves.
Right, and I'm the only person that's doing this. Folks say
Right.
that to me all the time.
Right.
I know you think this is crazy. You're like, you've never heard this before.
Right. It's like, you will be surprised how many times I've heard this. And I'll say something. I said, I said, how do you know? I said, probably about 75% of the people who walk through my door come with that issue. And
but it is unique to them, and it is sort of, and it is life changing. I mean, your life's going to change no matter how you go. It can either get better, or it can get better if you separate. Are there, what are good candidates of couples or people who are good for you that would really get something out of what you offer as a marriage counselor and a relationship coach?
Well, that's a loaded question. I would say everybody, but okay. And I'm gonna qualify that. The people who want to understand and really create a wonderful life. Sorry. I do not use miserable and marriage in the same sentence. I don't think they should be ever in the same thing. And I also have, while marriage requires attention and some effort, I don't like putting the word work to it. Okay. Because to me that means somebody doesn't know how it works. And that's not a judgment, because we don't tell people, and it's
Right.
getting harder now for people not to have seen a good relationship. I mean, we're watching reality TV, and it's like, oh my gosh, please stop looking at those people.
And thinking that's normal. I know.
Because you can't. I mean, I tell people a good marriage is boring to watch from the outside.
Right. Right, and I agree with that. It's like
It's just like,
if you don't have all the drama and the trauma, sometimes that's what people live in, and that's normal to them, and so they don't know that even sort of keel. It's going to have some bumps.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a good marriage is going to is going to be challenging at times, but the difference is do we want to learn how to work through those challenges?
Right.
And there was a study done not terribly long ago that showed that couples that were in a really not great place, but stuck it out and didn't even necessarily get help. 5 years later, things had changed enough that they were really glad that they did.
Oh, I love that.
And so what I want to tell people is you can get it better without having to wait for the 5 years.
Right.
But there's a lot of stigma, because people think, oh, if I go, then it means
it's over.
Or if I go, it means I'm crazy, or if I, and no, it's, nobody would think that, I think I was just reading the other day that LeBron James has several different coaches.
Right.
He's got a footwork coach, and he's got a shooting coach, and, you've got these baseball players, they've got batting coaches,
right.
and nobody thinks anything weird about,
right.
Or going and having a lesson with the golf pro. But somehow going and getting some information about how to make your marriage work, well, somehow I'm supposed to know this.
Right, or I'm deficient because I don't know it, and sort of thing.
Right, and pretty much I think everybody can benefit from seeing where they are and where do they want to go.
Right.
And I can provide a pathway to get them there. And, and sometimes there is too much damage.
Right. Right.
And then I can help people work through
separating,
so that they can separate in a way where both parties come out, and they can still care and respect for each other and still work together if there are children.
Right.
And then they can both go on to
healthier relationships. Right.
But if they don't resolve this, if they can't look at their partner and truly wish them well, they're not ready to speak.
Well, that's an interesting. Yeah.
Because there's still baggage.
There's still stuff they're working
on. And part of the problem is if they have children, then it flows through the kids, and that creates a whole other set of issues. That's a whole other conversation.
But I think coming to you, we're going to wrap up in just a second, but coming to you made me think, if they can work through those issues and separate, then the next relationship they get in, you have you work through some of the issues. Because if you don't work through them in this one, they're just going to carry it to the next one.
They're going to carry it with you. So if you're going to work through them, my thing is, and you have children, then let's try to work through them with this in this relationship. Because we will repeat.
Right.
Because if we don't know how to do it differently, then we're going to do the same thing.
Right. You have folks come to you, and you can be a great resource for people who are getting married.
Yes. But then again, there's a fear there that they're going to tell me we shouldn't get married. It's like, first off, that's not what that's
not your job.
And second off, if you're having that thought,
you might want to come and see Leslie.
You might want to stop and think about why would you even have that thought. But that's or they're in love and.
Right.
And they have all the answers, right. And so I kind of I'm trying to figure out how to get them like a year, right after their first anniversary. Yeah, where everything's still fresh,
right.
But they've also hit. It's like, why is this getting harder?
Right. That's a great idea. I love that. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about what you do or help their relationships?
Well, they can get in touch with me in one of two ways.
Okay.
They can call me, which I'm at area code 919-924-0463, or they can go to my website, which is www.foundationscoachingnc.com. So it's FOUNDATIONS coachingnc.com. N is in North, C is in Carolina, .com, and they can contact me through my website.
Okay, great. And you can also, if you go to our website, New Direction Family Law, click on About Us, you'll find out about For a Better Life series, and Leslie, your profile's up there, and it talks about your workshop that you're going to be doing in May, and it also has contact information through that way. So Leslie, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
I really appreciate it because, even though I do family law, my best hope is that families can stay together.
Right.
And so we're there if they can't, but you're there to help them figure out if that's the right way to go.
Right, and so, and hopefully, sometimes they desperately
Right.
need your services,
Right,
and so
right.
we need to have people who care about the whole
The whole process and the picture. Yeah. So thanks folks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.